Welcome to episode 104 of Norse Myths, Legends, and Folktales. My name is MyLinda Butterworth, and today we continue with the Saga of Frithiof, where Fritihiof sees his banishment from Framnäs as the temple burns. Fritihiof becomes a Viking and gives his crew rules to live by in chapters 14 and 15 of Frithiof in Exile. Chapter 14, Fritihiof in Exile. As Ellida passed the strand, Fritihiof gazed from the deck with gloomy brow upon the scene of conflagration, from which the thick smoke still ascended, and anguish filled his breast. "Woe, woe is me," he cried to himself. "An accusation rises yonder smoke to Odin's hall. Banished was I by Helge, but for a brief space. Now must I forever leave my native land. Be thou, O sea, from hence my country. On thy blue billows will I make my home. Framnäs no longer is my dwelling. Thou swift Ellida shalt be now my house. My bride too art thou in thy black garb, since she in lily robes is lost to me forever. Free dost thou roll, O mighty ocean. No tyrant's will can ever do thee wrong. The only king thou callest master is he who looks upon thee calmly when thy white breast heaves in wildest fury, and thunder peals are swallowed in thy voice. No grave mound e'er shall rise above me. Thy tossing waves shall cover deep my bones." Here Björn approached him and touched his shoulder, saying, "Look, yonder King Helge makes his way amid the rocks. Methinks he hath yet a word to speak with thee." 10 dragon ships were seen approaching. Fritihiof sprang to his feet and bade his men prepare for battle. Joyously they shouted, "King Helge wearies of the crown. His soul thirsts for Valhalla's delights. Now shall he fall. Bold Fritihiof leads us into victory." On came the ships in a half circle, surrounding Ellida. Helge had given the orders to slay Fritihiof and all his men, but to capture the ship as their prize. Suddenly, a strange sight met the eyes of Fritihiof and his warriors and filled them with amazement. 9 of the ships sank slowly down beneath the waves, while Helge himself escaped with difficulty to the shore. Björn laughed. "'Twas I that scuttled the ships last night unseen. A good trick it was, and all befell as I had hoped, save that the King Helge had escaped." Now all the sails were spread, and the ship sped swiftly out to sea. Backward gazing, Fritihiof watched the fast receding shore, and chanted a song that moved all hearts to sadness. "Farewell, mound streaming by wavelets blue, where westward streaming white blossoms strew. Odin revealeth and doometh well, what man concealeth. Farewell, farewell. Farewell, ye bowers, ye limpid streams, where mid-spring flowers youth wander in dreams. Ye friends of childhood who loved me well, till death remembered. Farewell, farewell. My love insulted, my dwelling brent, my honor tarnished, in exile sent. Heart biddeth in sadness Norn's fatal spell, to life's young gladness. Farewell, farewell." Chapter 15, Fritihiof's Viking Life. Thus Fritihiof became a Viking, the sea his only home, and these are the laws he made for his followers. Pitch no tent on thy ship, seek no slumber below. On his shield sleeps the Viking, his sword in his hand, his tent is the blue dome of heaven. Short be thy sword like the hammer of Thor, strike close to the foe. When the storm roars on high, spread wider the sails. The sea in its wrath fills the Viking with joy. A coward is he who would furl. Wine is drink of the gods. Enjoy thou the gift, but drown not thy senses. Beware! He who falls on the land rises quickly again. Who staggers here is the death goddess' prey. Protect the merchant ship on the high seas, so due tribute it doth not refuse. Thou art lord of the waves, he's a slave to his pelf. Thy steel is as good as his gold. By lot shall the booty be shared among us. Complain not, however, it falls. The sea king himself throws no dice on the deck. He seeks only glory from his foes. Heaves a Viking in sight, then come boarding and strife. From us he is banished who yields. Mercy fits him who conquers. He who lays down his arms at thy feet is no longer thy foe. Prayer is Valhalla's child, and a scoundrel is he who ruthless refuses to hear it. The Viking rewards are his wounds. Before all, on the brow and the breast are they glorious. He who seeketh ere issue of battle to bind them no longer is command of Viking. Thus ran the code of Fritihiof, and no laws of Odin were more strictly obeyed. Many a battle did these heroes fight and win, for there was not like them on the sea, and soon their fame spread far and wide. But naught of this had power to gladden Frithiof's heart. He would sit, helm in hand, for hours with clouded brow, gazing out over the rolling waters. Only in battle did the shadow vanish, as with flashing eyes and fiercely swelling breast he led his men to victory. For 3 years they sailed the seas northward and westward. Then turning south, his dragon anchored one day off the coast of Greekland, Greece. With wonder Frithiof gazed upon that beauteous land, with its noble ruined temples rising amid fragrant groves. The tales his father had been wont to tell of those fair isles still lingered in his memory like some lovely vision, a dream that now was realized. Hither had he once thought to flee with Ingeborg from this haughty Helge, here with her to found an abode of bliss. But the noble maiden had denied his prayers and shrunk from such a breach of duty and of custom. Amid these fair scenes, memories of his native land awoke afresh within him, and he longed to see it once again. But most of all, he yearned for the sight of Ingeborg and to visit his father's grave mound. "Why do I linger here in strange seas and strain my hands with blood?" he asked himself. "Enough of glory have I won, and I care not for gold. North points the flag on the masthead, to the Northland, the home of my youth. Up, Ellida, no longer will tarry, but follow that token from heaven." Chapter 16. Frithiof comes to King Ring's court. On his high seat sat King Ring, celebrating the great Yuletide feast that fell on the winter solstice, and beside him Ingeborg, his wife, like chilly autumn with the youthful spring. The mead horn went round, and joyous shouts and laughter filled the hall. Suddenly, through the doorway entered an old man, tall of stature and wrapped from head to foot in a great bearskin. In his hand he bore a staff, and walked as if bowed with age. None knew him, and he quietly took his place on the bench near the door reserved for the poor. The courtiers smiled to one another and pointed jeeringly at the shaggy figure, while one playfully approached with intent to make sport of him for the amusement of others. With flashing eyes, the stranger seized the rash youth, whirled him about in the air, and set him again on his feet, unharmed, whereat the courtiers' smiles deserted them, and they fell straightway silent. "What noise is that down yonder?" cried Ring sternly. "Come hither, old man. Who thus disturbest our kingly peace? Who art thou? What bring thee here? Whence comest thou?" "Much dost thou ask, O king," replied the stranger. "Yet all will I tell thee save my name. that concerneth none but me. Impotence was I reared. Want was my inheritance. My latest bed a wolf's lair. Astride my dragon with its mighty wings, I flew swiftly hither from afar. Now my good ship lies frozen in upon thy shores. I came to hear thy words of wisdom, fame through all the land. When thy people just now sought to mock me, I seized a vain fool and swung him round about, but I did him no harm. Forgive me, king. Truly, the monarch cried, thou speakest well, and wisdom's teaching bid us honor age. Come sit at the board, but first, I pray thee, doff thy strange disguisement, and show thyself in thy true form, for deception is ever wont to be the guise, foe of gladness. At this, the stranger let fall his hairy covering, and there, in place of an old man, appeared a youth of noble stature, his low brow shaded with bright, flowing locks. A blue mantle hung from his mighty shoulders, and his tunic was held in place by a wide silver belt, on which, with cunning skill, beasts of the forest were embossed. Heavy gold armlets encircled his arm. At his left side hung a sword that gleamed like lightning. Fair as Balder, like to the mighty Thor in strength of limb, he stood before the king and his astonished court. For a moment his keen glance wandered about the hall. Then he seated himself calmly at the board. The blood rushed to the cheeks of the queen till she glowed as crimson as the ice fields lit by glaring northern lights. But now the trumpet sounded the signal for silence. It was the hour of the vow, and the crowned boar was borne into the hall on a silver charger and placed upon the board. Touching the head of the boar, Ring said, Hearken, ye warriors, to my vow. I swear to conquer Fritihiof. Howsoever stout a champion he be, so help me Odin, Thor, and Frey. The stranger rose with a frown and dashed his sword upon the board with such a clang that all the warriors sprang from their seats. Hear thou me likewise, good Sir King, he cried. That Fritihiof whom thou nayest is my friend and kinsman, and him I swear to guard with life and limb, so help me Norns and my good sword. The king smiled. Thou speakest boldly, he answered, but words are free in Northland's royal halls. Fill for him, queen, yon horn with draught of welcome. I hope he'll tarry with us as our guest till spring returns. This horn was a precious heirloom of the house, broken from the forehead of the Eurus. Its feet were of silver wonderfully wrought, while the golden rings about it were carved with strange runes. With downcast eyes, Ingeborg handed it to the guest, but she trembled so that the wine was spilled, and the red drops gleamed on her white hand like evening's purple blushes on a lily. Unmoved, the hero took the mighty horn, lifted it to his lips, and at one draught drained it to the honor of his host. Then at a sign from the king, the skald smote on his harp strings and chanted many a heart-stirring song and legend. In lofty words he sang of love and friendship, of freedom and the country's glory, of the high gods and Valhalla's wonders, till fire shot forth from every eye, and involuntarily each warrior grasped the handle of his sword. Deeply they drank throughout the night, and many a champion, like a tower of strength in battle, was vanquished by the sweetly foaming mead. And here is where I end my tale for today. But I'll be back with more tales, many more tales. Until then, my friends, enjoy the journey.